Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Sammy. I am one of the New York City community organizers, and I'm also one of the fellows for our new impact strategist role. And I'm really excited to share this fundraiser that I've been working on that every Remake changemaker can participate in. So the idea is to take our No New Clothes challenge and turn it into a fundraiser. So if you think of like a walkathon or Movember, where you're really engaging in something and sharing the details about it to fundraise for something else. So this is really special if it's your first time doing No New Clothes to kind of share some facts and share some details about Remake. If it's like your second, third, or fourth time doing No New Clothes, it's a great way to really re-engage with these 90 days while raising money for Remake. And then for myself, this is really important to me because I've done over 4 years of no new clothes. And so every time we do this challenge, it's exciting, but it's my lifestyle now. So this is now giving me a chance to really take the next 90 days to engage with my community, share facts, and raise money for Remake. So we've created a platform. If this interests you to engage, I can try and share my screen. Um,
I can share for you.
Oh, perfect. That would be helpful.
Yep.
So we have a platform called Give Lively. And this is an example of my page that I created. And Give Lively is a fundraising platform for nonprofits, and every donation here will go straight to Remake. So this is what the base campaign page will look like. 90 days of no new clothes, and then you would click start a fundraiser. And then there'll be a leaderboard of other change makers or no new clothes challenge takers that are raising money for Remake. So you can look at other pages, see how other people are engaging with the challenge, et cetera, et cetera. And then, yeah, so you click start your own fundraiser. And then once you do that, you'll create, here's an example of Holly's fundraiser. I've created one too. And we have a toolkit that have some example language for you as you create this fundraiser. And then the idea is over the 90 days, you'd be sharing this out with different social media posts if you choose to, kind of sharing your journey, whether that's like something that you've styled recently, something that you thrifted, why you're wearing cotton over polyester a certain day, but then also facts about the fashion industry. So really making sure your community is knowing why you're doing this 90-day new clothes and really providing language for that on garment workers' rights, on water usage, the overproduction of the fashion industry. So we have a toolkit that will be released later today, if not this week, that will have language for all those social media posts. And this is just a really great way to kind of re-engage the No New Clothes Challenge while raising money for Remake. Because it's an organization we all love, and I feel like sometimes as ambassadors, we don't necessarily have the tools to raise money for Remake outside of events. And this is going to be a really amazing campaign that we can all join in on. And I'm like excited to see some of your guys' pages and see what you do with it. So we can really take this 90 days to not only participate in this challenge for ourselves, but share it with our community and raise money for Remake in the process.
Thank you so much, Sammy. We just launched this. We will have this toolkit and the links in Circle, and we'll have a step-by-step guide for how to set up your fundraiser page. And this will live in the resources space linked in Circle. So thank you, Sammy. I'm excited to see this come to life. As you saw, we just made our pages. So if you need any support, you can always message me on Circle or send me an email, and I'm happy. Sammy is also happy to support there. Thank you. Next, I'm going to invite Haley Penn to the virtual stage to discuss the yoga club and kind of how it started, what her plans are, how to get involved. Haley, take it away.
Hey, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Haley. I am one of the change makers based out of Philadelphia, or a town right nearby. And I started yoga club last year, sort of just as a like way to get to know more change makers in the Philly area, because I was looking for events and things to do, and it seemed like a little bit quiet. So I got in contact with the community organizer, and we started yoga club last year. Just for fun. And at the end of the summer, it seemed kind of like it wasn't a huge thing, but we had people coming. But this year, more people, a bunch of people have been reaching out. I've been able to connect with Holly and Allison about it, and now I feel so lucky to be able to talk to you guys about it. We've been having a really good turnout of events in the park where we do a hour-long or 45-minute yoga session. We talk about Remake and their mission, and we host clothing swaps. So each event just has those three parts to it. And since getting certified, I've been doing sort of like a staple price at each one. So, and this is optional, but each event is $11.34 to spread awareness about the lives lost in the Rana Plaza factory collapse. So that's just an example of ways at each event we try to like bring up um, different things that are going on in the fashion industry and just spread awareness about the mission behind Remake. But after listening to Sammy too, I think it's awesome that you're like looking for, you said maybe there's a 5K in the community and you can, you know, bring the two things together. And I want to talk to you about it, basically, is what I'm saying, how I can do that at Yoga Club too. But I've been working really hard on putting together a toolkit so that anyone else who's interested in hosting events in your city or in just your town, um, you can. So yeah, I kind of just go through and tell you a little bit about the mission and why there's a price to it, and where your money's going, um, how to get involved, and yeah, basically anyone who's hosting an event, we would want to be an ambassador or a remake change maker, and then they're open to the public, obviously. But it's been super fun just getting to know people in the community because I feel like there's such an overlap, or I really started because there's such an overlap between the idea of transparency, mindfulness, like just already having everything that you need, whether that's internally or in the external world. So the two of them just go hand in hand so well, in my opinion. So yeah, it's been really cool to get to know people who share that same value. And I'm excited to connect with anyone who is interested in getting involved in that or wants to host an event in their area, a yoga club collective event. So thank
Thank you so much, Haley. I love the real-time connection happening on the call with Sammy as well. If anybody's interested in getting involved, we'll have the toolkit also available for you after this call. Yeah, definitely reach out to any of us for these initiatives. I'm really excited to see our community connecting together in this way. Finally, before we jump into the call, I just want to say thank you to all of our Remake Gems who give every month. You make our Changemaker program, our resources, our workshops, our call like this today free and possible for everyone. You're keeping this work alive for sure. If you're not in our Remake Gem Club, help us grow our movement, create stronger resources, and build a more resilient community by becoming a Remake Gem today. So we're dropping a link in the chat where you can support us there. And now we'll jump into the call. I realize I did not introduce myself. I'm Holly. I am Remake's community manager. I love No New Clothes, and I love this summer initiative because I feel like it's just a collective opportunity to do my favorite actionable step of advocacy, which is boycotting and just like bringing my frustrations like to my hands and to my wallet and do it in a way that we're all collectively doing it at the same time. Um, I'd love to know if anyone wants to drop in the chat how your No New Clothes challenge is going. If you have any wins, any tips to share, feel free throughout the call to drop in the chat how your No New Clothes challenge is going. It always feels so empowering for me every summer as we take these 90 days to pause on buying anything new. At Remake, we believe that this reset helps challenge takers set an intentional path forward in their fashion change-making journey by freeing up time and brain space that would otherwise be spent on consumption, and take that and turn it into citizen action and really using our voices and platforms to advocate for a just fashion future. And it has real impact. Brands listen when, you know, their customers are putting their money somewhere else, and it flips a switch in the way that we live our lives, and show up every day, like Sammy was mentioning for herself. We are joined today by leaders in the No New Clothes movement, from vintage, secondhand, and upcycling spaces, who, through their passion for ethics and living their values, have paved their own entrepreneurial path and built businesses with purpose. Today, we're joined by Beth Jones, founder of B. Jones Style, social media consultant, creative director, YouTube creator. She's been an influencer in the world of fashion blogging since the very beginning. We have today joining us Nick Polina, a creative entrepreneur, content creator, and founder of vintage brands Seven Moods, known for affordable designer accessories, and Thanks It's Thrifted, a community-driven studio and market. Our next two speakers have this in common: working in tech, formerly working in tech, and bringing their skills into something that is more mission-driven. We also have Maloney Sheth with us. She's the founder of Naya, a circular redesign platform that connects conscious consumers with upcycling designers to transform their pre-loved clothing. Originally from India, her work is deeply inspired by its rich craft traditions. After a decade of building marketplaces in tech, she is now combining that experience with her lifelong passion to build more intentional systems for consumption. As we are doing the panel discussion, I encourage you all to engage in the chat, engage with the panelists throughout the discussion. Feel free to drop questions that we can get into the Q&A at the end. So thank you again for joining us. I'm so excited to be in community with you all today. And let's get started. So for all three of our panelists, let's see, for your personal journey, what sparked your love for what you are doing today?
I can go first.
Yeah.
I'm Beth, by the way. I was having a hard time figuring out how to unmute myself, but I figured it out. Honestly, I feel like my mom kind of sparked it for me. She used to run like a big rummage sale in our community, and that is where I kind of fell in love with the idea of finding secondhand clothes, and what I didn't realize was amazing vintage clothes. And so just that magic of finding things and then bringing them to life. Back in the day, it was bringing them to life to play dress up as a little girl, but now it's basically playing dress up as a 44-year-old woman still.
I'm definitely playing dress up every day. Nick, I'd love for you to come next.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I
yeah,
was waiting for my mom
if
actually
anybody
to
has a
leave the
problem
room.
with unmuting, let me know.
But no, I have a similar story. I feel my mom was super into like shopping secondhand very early on, and I feel like even before people thought it was cool to shop secondhand, I was doing that super early, and she's always been like a big person to upcycle and just shop. She doesn't like care about vintage so much, but just like shopping secondhand. So I feel like that's where I got my spark for it. And I just feel like I've always loved clothes, and I also care about sustainability. So I've always wanted to combine those two passions in a way that would um, do both. And I think it's possible to do both. So yeah, similar story to Beth.
Shout out to moms. Mom was she was always doing DIY things at home. So that influence was always like, how do I use what I have growing up? Maloney?
It's my mom again. I think there's a clear theme.
Yeah, moms.
Yep. But for me, I grew up in India. My mom's a fashion designer in India, and she's been focused on upcycling her whole life. So I think it was more of a way of life for her than actually like a design language. And she would look at clothes as resourceful and not disposable. So she would use every little scrap she could to create beautiful designs. So just grew up in her workshop with tailors and artisans, and I was in awe of what they could do with their hands. And really the output was always just beautiful and so unique. So yeah, that's my inspiration behind Naya.
I love these answers. Let's dive in even further to what drives your work. My first question for Beth: you've built such a powerful personal brand around vintage design and playing dress up. how have you turned personal storytelling into a long-term business? And what lessons have you learned about monetizing authenticity?
Well, I mean, I started this, like you said, at the very beginning. I started this 18 years ago. So I didn't really know, I wasn't creating a business back then. I was really just sharing my passion for what I love to do, which was to thrift clothes. And often that was vintage and really be inspired by what was happening on the runways, but interpreting it in the way that I felt like I could do that, which was through thrifting. And I just honestly, storytelling through my clothes is just so much about who I am and what I do. And I think over 18 years doing that, I think there's people like you all out there and others who really love that as well. Just the idea of playing dress up, of using what they have, going thrifting, going to vintage markets, things like that, and bringing it to life. And I think there's something really like magical and creative about it too, just being not looking and going in a store and just like buying an outfit, but actually like using your creativity to make something happen, put together an outfit, be a character for a day, whatever that is for you. And I think just the authenticity. I started a YouTube channel, gosh, I think since I started it in 2014. And at the end of one of my videos, I ended up saying that idea of like, okay, everybody, bye, always play dress up. And I think that is so much about who I am, but it really is about a whole community of people who really just want to have fun with clothes and shop secondhand and just play and stop kind of living by this idea of like you have to look this way, or this age you have to dress this way, or you have to wear what everyone else is wearing. And I think with saying that always play dress up, it brought in a whole community of people who resonated with that idea. And it isn't, my content is not actually about me. Yes, it's me in the photos or videos, but it's really about just inspiring people to feel free about playing dress up and having fun with clothes and going out and digging for treasure at thrift and vintage stores.
I love that. I mentioned on our last community call in June to folks that I have a confidence corner in my closet. And that is what makes me feel like that's what I go to when I have like a speaking engagement or something where I want to feel like the next level, like bumped up of myself. Like I've curated a little spot in my closet to do that dress up. And I think a lot of what we're going to hear today is uh like there wasn't a set plan, for what was to come next. It just was going to the next thing that felt right, I think, and exploring the opportunities that come with dressing as well. Thank you.
Yeah. I have a section called my party section. So very similar. It's just like,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean I'm going to a party. It just means I want to feel like I'm having a party.
Yes. Yeah, that makes all the difference, that feeling and how you show up.
Yes.
My next question is for you, Nick. I would love for you to walk us through the creation of Thanks It's Thrifted and 7 Moods. If you could break down how they came to life, from your idea to the audience to execution and outcome, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, so I worked in tech for 7 years. I worked at Google as like my final company, and I was a user researcher there. So I really was trained, I guess, professionally to try to understand who the user is, who your customer is, and how you can create experiences or companies or communities around what these people want. So I got laid off in the beginning of 2023, and I had already had a small following from helping women get into STEM related fields. So I saw the power of social media, and I kind of combined those two forces of like my UX research brain and my social media brain to think, how can I go from here and really create something myself? I think I had kind of been wanting to go off on my own, so I took this as like a sign to really just lean in. And so I started talking about where to go shopping in New York City. It was kind of already a part of my content, but I just heavily leaned into that. And one thing led to the next where I was supporting and promoting a lot of these small businesses in the New York City area. Ended up getting a rack in Regeneration, which is a collective located in Williamsburg. And probably like I think what I got it as was more of like an influencer related rack, but I took it as like this is my chance to really start my own business. So I was like painting the hangers and I was creating tags and I was naming my business and all of these things where in retrospect, I don't think a lot of other people did that when they got the same opportunity, but I really saw this as a way to start an actual business versus just be a content creator. And the first weekend that I was in Regeneration, I think my clothes, they had told me that my clothes sold more than anyone in the store. And a lot of these were really experienced vintage sellers. And I was like, okay, I think this is really could be something. At the same time, that same week, Sienna, who I don't know, maybe some of you guys know, is a content creator and she focuses also on sustainable fashion, thrifting primarily. She reached out to me and was like, hey, can I use your shirt in a video? And I was like, wow, why is this big creator wanting to wear my shirt in a video? So through that, we kind of started chatting, realized that we had a lot of the same values around like sustainability, wanting to keep things affordable for like the women in New York, and also like we had a really hard work ethic. So we kind of turned an idea of let's get a storage unit together into let's open a studio space and make it a place where people can come together. Obviously shop vintage and secondhand, but also meet other like-minded people. So we'll do things like host Climate Week events. We've done like styling classes and all of those types of ways to get people together because I think like that's really what like the vintage and secondhand community is becoming in my eyes is like not only a space where you can shop, but also a space where you can like meet like-minded people. So that's really the start of things. It's thrifted. And I guess Seven Moods was really that first initial rack that has grown into something very separate, which is like my online store really focused on selling hopefully somewhat affordable designer vintage pieces. So yeah, kind of also utilized a lot of data. You asked like, how did I figure out what the audience is for each? I utilized a lot of the data in the back end of like the results of my videos to decide on how I should market my business, who I should be marketing it to. Saw a lot of comments on my videos about like wanting affordable vintage in New York City. And that's why we have things that's thrifted today. So using that user research mindset to also think about who the customers are. But yeah, that's really the story. It's really kind of crazy and convoluted, but that's it.
That's so exciting, like how quickly everything has come together from like that, initial layoff to what you've been able to build and with community too, like here in New York. That's really inspiring to see.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess I should also say we're hosting markets now from Thanks It's Thrifted. So that's our new additional venture. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind for sure.
We're excited to keep following you and hopefully attend the markets. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
Next to Maloney, I would love for you to walk us through the founding story of Naya. Can you tell us a little bit more about your solutions? And you offer a post-love guarantee. I'd love to learn more about that too.
Yes, for sure. So again, for me, I spent a decade working in tech. I was doing product management and product design. But really, what I took away from my childhood was this appreciation for makers and designers, and the fact that an upcycle wardrobe is a highly desirable wardrobe because it helps you express your authenticity. There's a story to each piece that you wear. It's almost like a conversation starter. So in fact, my own wedding dress was upcycled from my sister's wedding dress. So, it's just something that's been so close to my heart. And over the years, I spent a lot of time building marketplaces. So worked at Upwork and Thumbtack, learned a ton about how to scale a tech business. But really last year, with everything going on in the world, with brands overproducing, us over-consuming, it really felt like the right moment to converge that tech experience with this passion that I have for upcycling to make it a lot more accessible to the world. And really our mission is to redefine consumption. So today, if you feel like you need something new, we know that consumers have this desire for newness, or that they want something, they want that dopamine hit of getting like a new garment. So we want to meet that need, but instead of going and shopping on a website, maybe just look at your own closet and maybe go ahead and redesign something. And that's the behavior shift we're trying to incentivize. So in terms of what the platform looks like, it's very much it's very early stage. It's only been 2 weeks. We connect independent designers and makers to consumers to redesign their old clothes. Because this is such a new behavior shift, there's a lot of like showing and tell instead of telling, like actually showing them what are the possibilities, because I do get a lot of questions from customers like, oh, what can I do with this? Like, I can't even imagine what these denims can turn into. So we're giving designers all the tools to express their designs and put their services on the platform. So consumers can go in, browse that, reach out to a designer, and really make this shift from consumption to co-creation, where you can actually work with the designer to build your dream outfit. So that's how the platform works. We're calling it post-loved. That's like a new terminology internally that we're using, just because post-love for us means that your garment gets a new life by the hands and skills of makers and designers, with the intention and care that they put into it, and it's a whole new garment now. So we think post-loved is the future, and yeah, that's a little bit about how the platform works right now. And the goal is to eventually scale this to brands and offer this as a solution for their debt stock and returns and all of that.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank
Just
you.
for 2 weeks, that's really exciting. And I feel that sometimes the creativity is hindering to some people because they may not necessarily, know how to sew. It's very intimidating to, buy a sewing machine and do different types of like upcycling that, you see other people do, but you may necessarily not have the space. And I think this is such a wonderful solution for folks who have unused items in their closet and care about turning them into something, but don't necessarily know where to bring it or what to do. So thank you for sharing with us and being with us today.
Thank you.
Next, Beth. So like I mentioned, we are in month 2 of our No New Clothes campaign right now, which we host every summer for 90 days. We are restyling what we have in our closets or buying secondhand. It looks different to everyone, whether they're just like buying it dependently. But for you, like you restyle what you have, you've been doing it over and over. What I'm wondering and what you could share with our community is, if you have limitations with your styling, if you come to a head, how do you turn limitations into inspiration in your wardrobe? Or if you're dressing for something specific and you're not necessarily finding it within your means, how do you go about styling in that way?
Well, it's funny, as Maloney was talking about reworking pieces. That's something that I'm a big fan of. I unfortunately cannot sew, but I have a woman who's an amazing tailor, does alterations. And often when I have limitations, like a party dress that I've already worn this to something, I don't want to wear that one thing again. What could I do with that? I'll often take it to my friend, and she'll rework it for me, make it into 2 pieces, turn a dress into a skirt, and then make a matching top with it. So that's something that I do a lot. Or even, I mean, just as simple as a button down. You were talking about button downs. I was finding that I was cinching the back of my button downs to create more of a corseted look with them. And I realized I wish I could do it myself, but I realized I could have her add kind of a clasp in the back to be able to rework that shirt and wear it open if I want, but also cinch it in and make it corseted if I want as well. So that's something I love to do. And instead of letting that pile of clothes sit there that you're not wearing, really think about what are some different ways that you could, rework the pieces to make them something that you would wear. And especially with vintage, I do feel like I had like an example. I had this sequin jacket that was really great, but it felt just a little outdated in a way that I wasn't grabbing it. And so I thought, if I turn that into more of just a simple thing, just crop it and make it more of a short cropped sequin jacket, that would feel a little more modern for now. And so I did that, and that's something I grab all the time now instead of letting it just sit there. So I think that for sure. I also just love to look for inspiration, if that's looking at old movies or for me, different icons that I love: Catherine Baba, Carrie Bradshaw, Katharine Hepburn, Audrey Hepburn, just different icons, and kind of looking at things that they wore, or even just the feeling that is created with what they wear, and then kind of trying to capture that, with what you have in your closet. And I also really love I do something where I like dress up a character, even though I'm just going into my normal day. I've got 2 boys. I might just be running errands. I think about, okay, what character do I want to be today? And then go into my closet with that idea of like, maybe I'm, some fabulous lady who has a house in Palm Springs and lives a fabulous lifestyle, and she collected art from all around the world and now she's settled. And I think about, okay, well, what would she do in the closet now instead of just me? And I think that can kind of help you look at your closet in a whole new way and keep using all of the clothes that you currently have, but just thinking of different ways that different characters might wear them. So
That's such a fun way to think about it. Also, props to your tailor for cropping a sequin blazer.
I know, I know.
That's a
Honestly,
great
she's
tailor.
amazing, and I come in with the craziest idea. I took a dress, I took the bottom off, and then I wanted to make like arm puffs with the bottom. So we made it more of a midi length dress and then made just these big arm puffs to kind of create something totally new with the dress. And she's like, and that had sequins and embroidery and everything on it. And she did it for me. So
Wow. Oh
yeah,
my gosh, that is cool.
yeah.
One of my tips that I learned from a change maker, they told me that if you're tired of something, this wouldn't work with the sequins, but
Right.
if there's something that you're looking to revamp or like re-inspire yourself to wear it inside out. Like even pants, just like try, because sometimes they have a fun like pocket pattern. Um, and I always think of that. I haven't actually done it yet, but you just made me think about it. So maybe that's what I'll do. I'll go back into my closet, see what I could wear inside.
I've done that with a blazer because the inside of blazers are often so incredible. They
Sure.
have amazing linings, and even
Yeah.
the detail of the seams are interesting. So yeah, I love that idea.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Great tip. Our next question that I have is for Nick. As we get dressed, like fashion is very, like express yourself, be an individual. Um, Fashion is framed as individualistic. And your platform has grown. You see what people are looking for, what they're buying for, what they're interested in shopping. I'm wondering, is it possible from your perspective that personal style can be an act of community care? And also, how in the way that we dress do we inspire around us the people to move differently and maybe shop differently?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting question. And I think people lately are really leaning into this idea of like individuality, but it's almost like a trend that we're all trying to be very
Yeah.
individualistic. So I think that's an interesting way to think about it. And I do believe that because we have social media, we have Pinterest, all of these things, in some ways we're becoming much more, what's the word? Like uniform in the way that we dress, where we're seeing a lot of people just kind of go straight to um, whatever their favorite influencer, click on the link, buy it. But I find what people are starting to want is they want guidance, but they also want to shop sustainably and they also want to shop still individualistically. So I think there's like two sides of it where like you can inspire people to shop to be individual, but it doesn't need to be like an individual sport by any means. And I think there's something so fun about the communities that are being created online where it's like we get to geek out over like certain pieces or certain time frames in history and fashion. And I do think like everything is everything inspires it together. So like the past inspires what's going on now as we've seen like a lot of these 20-year cycles. And I also think yeah, like I think like social media can definitely get people into the secondhand space. And that's what I've talked about a lot actually on a recent podcast where I think that's really my whole idea behind my page is like providing like free accessible content for people to actually find out about the secondhand space, get interested in that, and then be a part of a community where they can express themselves individually with their style, but they are kind of doing it with other people in a fun way that's like, hey, look what I found. Look at this piece. And it doesn't become so like siloed. And I think that's what makes shopping vintage, shopping secondhand a lot more fun is like everyone gets really excited about the pieces versus like I think buying new, you don't get as excited or interested in like the stories and all of that. So I don't know if that made sense, but I think like it's kind of both. Like there's like a push and pull of individuality and then also community, and that especially exists within the secondhand space.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. A lot of things in my closet, when I look at them, I just remember where I was and who was with me when I got them. And I'm the worst to shop with, like to thrift or like go to a vintage like showroom or something with, because when one of my friends tries something on, I'm like, you need that. Like it is made for you. So those types of moments where it's like really unique and really special, like brings the community together while also finding something like unique for you. But I also do find myself needing some guidance, and a lot of us on the call too. So thank you for sharing that. And Maloney, how does community play in your work and shaping the future of Naya?
Yeah, I would say community is very core to our entire business model. I would start with our designer community. I feel like without the independent designers and makers, we wouldn't have a platform at all. And I really think they are the ones, the creative capacity of these makers is what can power a revolution like this, where people go ahead and start redesigning their clothes at scale. So community is very core to what we're doing, and extremely essential. I think we're trying to flip the script a little bit with fast fashion. All the creators and makers are invisible. Here we want to keep them at the center of everything that we do. And because we're also trying to lead this behavior shift, I feel like a lot of like community events, a lot of like people coming together, rallying behind a concept is essential for us, even on the consumer side, because that's the only way we can get people to do this and practice this more actively and consciously. So yeah, it's a pretty big part of what we're trying to do here. And I almost feel like anything circular needs to have community at the center, because it is anything circular is like communal in some ways. There's like give and take, there's exchange, there's like a lot of interactions and co-creation. So really that's what we're trying to hone in on.
I have a follow-up question to that. And I'm gonna ask all three of our panelists this question, but I'll keep the mic in your hand since we were just speaking. I'm wondering, collaboration is very important. I'm wondering from your perspective if you could share what makes collaboration successful in this circular business context and how you approach partnership.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people actually ask me this. They're like, you own a vintage store, but you're always talking about other vintage stores. And I think like that's truly how I got started. I feel like I owe a lot of like my early successes to the other vintage stores in the New York City area, where I was going to their stores and promoting their brands as a way to grow on my platforms and also just out of my own interest. But then I also was learning from them, and they were teaching me things about here's how you get a secondhand permit, here's like why you should open a store. And that really obviously was inspiring to me and super educational to me. So I think like paying it forward, once you get to a certain point, you always want to like turn around and help the other vintage stores and the other resellers and the other sustainability store owners to do the same. And I think like for me, what I've realized is like a lot of people see competition as just competition, but I actually think that, without having a better word of saying this, makes you kind of a bad business owner and a bad person in business, because it's like actually people who are your competitors can usually be your partners. And there's a lot of ways that you can work together and learn from each other to grow. And for example, actually, like one of my competitor bag sellers recently, we were just discussing, because we know we buy from the same seller, is like could we combine and actually get a larger percentage on some of these bags. So like there's tons of ways that you can work with other people, and what I find is the vintage space is really really open to that. And I think in part it's because everything is one of one. So while you might have a similar concept to your store, we're going to have different pieces at the end of the day, because we're not getting things from a manufacturer where everything's going to look the same and it's just going to be marginally different. It's really going to reflect your style. So I think like that's really what's fun about secondhand and like working in secondhand versus like working in newer clothing, is like there's more room for collaboration, and it's like a new space, so people are excited and they just want to help each other, and there's a lot of room for that too.
Right. And I would imagine, we're all fighting the same thing too, right? Like we're all like trying to
Totally.
deviate from fast fashion. So like we're all here for the same reason. I would hope that would encourage people to collaborate even more, because we're all on the same page, despite there being some competitiveness, but we all are in the same good fight.
Yeah, like hopefully people are coming at it from a perspective where we're not just in it for the money. We're more in it for like saving the planet, making
Yeah.
people shop secondhand, and making sure like we're doing that, we're creating a circular economy together. So I think that also helps. I've never really thought about why, but I think you're right. There's like a mission outside of just business.
Right. Because if we landed here, we generally have, to a degree, the same value system.
Yeah, something
Beth,
that
I'd love for you to jump in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, community is huge for me. I mean, in so many ways. I mean, the always play dress up community is a huge part of my content. But even just an example of kind of collaboration that I often do is, yes, I'm a content creator, and most content creators are kind of driven by this idea of like click and buy what that person is wearing. That is not anything that goes with what I do. I mean, you can't really click and buy what I wear. But something that I've had a lot of fun doing is that I collaborate with vintage sellers often. And if I'm going on a work trip, I will actually go and pull clothes from them and style all of their clothes while I'm gone, and then make it actually shoppable for my following, which is so much fun. It's a way for me to almost feel like I'm pulling from the Vogue closet or something like that, but it's all vintage secondhand, and it's something that my following can actually participate in and buy, but they're not necessarily buying anything new. They're just getting to, buy and support this vintage seller. So that's one way that it's been really fun to collaborate within this community of vintage. And it is really funny because I mean, I used to be the host of a big vintage show here in LA called Pickwick. And it is hilarious. One, it's an amazing community of people, and everyone shows up, and it's like this big celebration. And everyone immediately, you have at least one thing in common, that you love vintage, you love secondhand. But it's hilarious how often the vintage sellers are just buying from each other. Like, oh my gosh, you have those pants, I want to buy them. They'll buy them. And then they're buying a jacket from them. And it's almost like this swap that happens the whole time, too, which is really fun to see.
I agree. I spend most of my money that I've earned
Oh, yeah.
back with other vintage sellers, which isn't very good. But I love that idea of like pulling from pieces before you like go on a trip or something, because then it does make it shoppable for people versus like I think like people like a vibe of a store too, and like seeing the vibe, but then also it's like, no, you can literally have this exact piece. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I would just also echo what Nick said. I think like for us also, because we're so early stage, we haven't established partnerships yet, but we are exploring secondhand store partnerships. I feel like that's a core input into what we're doing. Like you can't have post-love without pre-love. And a lot of our designers actually source a lot of their clothes and scraps from vintage stores. So I actually see this, if you collaborate within the ecosystem, I think you're only like multiplying the value that you can give customers. And also don't see it as any competition, but I feel like you can just join forces for meeting customer needs better.
Thank you. I think everyone that we have on this call, really our general Remake community, we're a group of go-getters. We do what we can in our neighborhoods, wherever we are located, trying what we can to move our mission forward, as you've seen earlier in the call and in the chat. I think it would be a great thing to explore if the three of you could talk a little bit more, borrowing from the collaborators, talk about what or who, I guess, behind your work, like the help that you have that makes what you do possible. A lot of us feel like we're in the fight by ourselves, and it's an overwhelming feeling to, feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders to educate people and make a difference in the world. I'd love for you each to talk a little bit about that, the support that you have.
Yeah, I think like tangibly for my business, I have two business partners. So for Things It's Thrifted, I work with Sienna, who's another content creator and also big on thrifting and like totally gets the whole mission behind it, which I think is super helpful to not feel isolated. You're like, okay, someone actually gets this and we're working on something together. And then on the Seven Moods side, my husband helps me, which is super helpful, because I feel like I couldn't do half of the things without him. So tangibly, I have two business partners, and then I also have really great employees too. So I always have to credit them because I think like that a lot of what we do couldn't happen without them. And then, yeah, I mean, I think my community is like extremely helpful because they tell me about things that I wouldn't even know about. And I also get to, have opportunities where it's like I can sign bags. I also like buy from people's closets. So it's like, to your point, it can feel really difficult sometimes to be like, okay, I want to be a part of this circular economy, but there's not really this easy way that I can get rid of my clothes. But I think we are kind of like symbiotic in that way, where it's like I can come to their home and take like the bags from them and we can work together on like, I have this ability to have a community and have a platform so I can, kind of help you turn over these bags and make it a circular economy. And I think we all need to be like thinking and looking out for ways like that where we can kind of partner and collaborate with just like people in the community. And then, yeah, it's more fun that way too.
Definitely.
I mean, for me, my full-time job is being a content creator. So I think I couldn't do that without my team who works with me. I have an amazing assistant who basically helps me create everything, do everything. Sometimes, travel with me to help create the content, do all the editing on the short form video. I also have an editor I work with to help me with because I have a weekly YouTube video that comes out. So I have an amazing editor who is awesome because she's part of my community. She reached out to me years ago and was like, "Do you need an editor?" I was like, "Yes." So it's really amazing to work with people who not only help me do what I do, but also they love the secondhand and thrifting lifestyle as well. So, even with my editor, she totally gets what I do. And that's really fun to be collaborating in that way together. And then my assistant as well. I mean, half the time we're like filming in thrift stores and we're both buying stuff while we're there. And also my husband has definitely been a huge support and help. I mean, I've been doing this 18 years. So there was definitely some years where he was helping me do a lot of the content, and he's totally opposite than me and really could care less about clothes or fashion, but has definitely joined in supporting me through the whole journey. So
Yeah, for me, I would say we're a really lean team right now. I'm a solo founder, so no, don't have any co-founders, but I do have somebody on the tech side supporting me, and really my husband is my CTO, so he helps me a ton with a lot of the platform and the tech. But yeah, we're bringing on a social media person this week, but we've been approaching this also with a very scrappy mindset where we're also doing a lot of calls with designers, just asking them for feedback, checking on what features they would want. So a lot of like polling the community, checking in with them, and then kind of building the platform from ground up. But I do tell people that AI is my co-founder. I do use AI and leverage AI a lot. So I would say, yeah, that's pretty much our team right now.
That is all very encouraging to hear. Thank you so much for sharing. We have a lot of first-time entrepreneurs in our changemaker community, and all of your insight and experience is definitely very helpful to hear. So now that we have about 5 minutes left, I'd love for each of you to share where we can find you, how we can support you, and then I'll do a couple of closing mentions.
I can go. I'm B Jones Style everywhere. So B Jones Style on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I have a website, bjonesstyle.com. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Thank you.
I'm Nick Polina _ on Instagram, and then I'm Nick Polina no _ on TikTok. And also there's someone impersonating me, so be careful.
Oh no.
I also have my studio space in Dumbo called Things It's Thrifted. It's at 53 Bridge Street, unit 204. And then we're having our next market on, I think it's September 4th and 5th weekend. It's going to be a big market in Bushwick. Honestly, we should do something with Remake there.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm really excited. The space is like so much bigger than our other spaces. So if you guys are in New York, come. And
Yes.
then what else do I have? Oh, and then my website is sevenmoods.nyc. And we do drops every Monday at 7:30 p.m. So one tonight. That's it.
Amazing. I am at Maloney S on Instagram, Naya.redesign on Instagram. I just sent it in the chat. And then nayaredesign.com is our website. We're undergoing a big like rehaul on the website with our design and adding a bunch of features, which should be live tomorrow. But yes, you can find me there. And then I'm also on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. We'll send links in our recap and where to find you all. We'll send it in our recap to everybody who's on the call here today. And we have a recording that will go out on our YouTube page either later today or early in this week. So thank you so much. Thank you, Beth, Nick, and Maloney for sharing your insights with us, for just spending some time on your Monday with us. Thank you, Sammy and Haley from earlier in the call for demonstrating the work that you're doing in your community and how we can all support. I'm so excited to follow all of you and to remain in touch. We hope that you leave inspired today and feel inspired to reconnect with your wardrobe and your values in your wardrobe as well. If you have not signed up for No New Clothes yet, we encourage you to sign the campaign here in the chat and start brainstorming with our Remake community on Circle, where you'll find Changemaker exclusive assets for the No New Clothes campaign. So thank you all for joining today. I'm wishing you a grounding and uplifting month ahead. I am always here. I'm here on Circle, my email, holly@remake.world. And we'll see you next week for our Changemaker Social.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone,
Bye.
take care.
Bye.
Bye.